Yates is responsible for one of the most disturbing and heartbreaking cases in modern true crime. In June of 2001, inside of a quiet home in Houston, Texas, a mother of 5 did something so horrifying that it shocked the entire country. One by one, her children were found drowned in the bathtub. But this case is different from a lot of others because when investigators started to dig deeper, they found a long history of mental illness, postpartum psychosis, and warning signs that some people believe were just simply ignored. So was Andrea Yates simply evil? Or was this one of the most devastating examples of what can happen when someone completely loses touch with reality? Today, we're going to be talking about the tragic and highly controversial case of Andrea Yates. Reader discretion is advised. Before Andrea Yates became known around the world for this case, her name was originally Andrea Pia Kennedy. She was born July 2nd, 1964 in Houston, Texas. People who knew her described her as intelligent, quiet, and deeply religious, and as a teenager, she did very well in school and was even valedictorian in her graduating class. She seemed stable, responsible, and someone that had their life together. Later, Andrea became a registered nurse and worked in healthcare. Eventually, she met Russell Yates, the man who later became her husband, and the two got married in 1993. Over time, they built a life centered around strict religious beliefs, family, and raising children. From the outside, they looked like a normal family, but behind the scenes, Andrea started to struggle in ways that only few people knew, and it eventually just became terrifying. Andrea and Russell Yates eventually had 5 children: Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and Mary. Their family life was very structured and very religious. For a while, they even lived in a converted bus before later moving into a house in Houston. Andrea stayed home full-time. She cared for the children and she homeschooled them, and then she basically handled every part in their life. And with the 5 young kids, that alone would be overwhelming for almost anybody. But after giving birth to her children, Andrea started showing signs of serious postpartum depression, and it wasn't mild, but this was very severe and it just kept getting worse. After the birth of her 4th child, she attempted suicide more than once, and she was hospitalized and she was prescribed medication. And at one point, she was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis, which is rare, but this is extremely serious, and it can cause hallucinations, paranoia, and delusions, and a complete break from reality. And this was not a secret. Her condition was very known. She had already shown clear signs, and those signs showed that she was mentally unstable and that she was in crisis. According to reports, Andrea became withdrawn. She even stopped speaking at times, and she engaged in self-harm. She was described as staring blankly, trembling, and seeming emotionally detached. At one point, she reportedly held a knife to her own neck and begged to die. Doctors and family members were extremely alarmed, but despite all of this, the family continued having children. And eventually, after the birth of her youngest child, Mary, Andrea's mental state spiraled again. In the months leading up to the murders, Andrea's mental health got dramatically worse. She had reportedly stopped taking her medication due to side effects, and doctors had warned that another pregnancy could be dangerous for her mental state. And after baby Mary was born in 2000, the symptoms came back with terrifying intensity. She became more paranoid, more disconnected, and more consumed by the belief that she was a bad mother. Then, after her father died in early 2001, her condition got worse. She stopped feeding the kids properly at some time, she stopped talking, she mutilated herself, and she was hospitalized again. At one point, doctors prescribed antipsychotic medication, and there were signs that she briefly improved, but that improvement did not last long. And according to court testimony, Andrea became consumed by terrifying delusions, and she believed that Satan was inside of her, and she believed that she was a bad mother, and eventually she began to believe that if her children stayed with her, they would be doomed. On the morning of June 20th, 2001, Russell Yates left for work and Andrea was alone with the children at home. This is important because doctors had reportedly advised them that she should not be left home alone with these children. Andrea's mother-in-law was expected to arrive later that morning to help, but Andrea ended up acting before anyone got there. One by one, she took her children into the bathroom and drowned them in the bathtub. Noah was 7, John was 5, Paul was 3, Luke was 2, and baby Mary was only 6 months old. According to investigators, after drowning the younger children, Andrea placed them on the bed. Her oldest son Noah reportedly asked what was wrong with Mary before he tried to run, but unfortunately, Andrea caught him and then he became the last victim. After it was over, Andrea called 911. When the operator answered, she calmly told them that she needed a police officer, and then she called Russell at work and told him that he needed to come home. She didn't scream, she did not run, but instead she waited. And when the police arrived, they found one of the most horrifying crime scenes that they have ever seen. When police questioned Andrea, she admitted what she had done, but her explanation what shocked investigators. She said that she believed that she was a bad mother, and she believed that she had failed her children spiritually. And in her mind, death was the only way to save them from a fate worse than death. Later, she told mental health experts that she believed that Satan had marked her, and that her children would be corrupt if they stayed with her. This wasn't just depression, but this was psychosis, and almost immediately, the entire country became divided over one question. Was Andrea Yates a monster, or was she a woman who completely lost touch with reality? Andrea Yates was then charged with capital murder, and her defense team argued that she was legally insane at the time of the killings. Under Texas law, that meant proving that she did not understand what she was doing and that it was wrong because of severe mental illnesses. During the first trial in 2002, prosecutors argued that Andrea knew exactly what she was doing. They pointed out the fact that she called 911, she called Russell, and then she waited for the police, and to them, that showed awareness and planning. But the defense pointed to years of psychiatric history, her being hospitalized, and suicide attempts, as well as clear evidence of psychosis. Even with all of that, the jury found Andrea Yates guilty. She was then sentenced to life in prison, and for a lot of people, that seemed like the end of the story, but it was not. After the first trial, a major issue came out. One of the prosecutor's expert witnesses, Dr. Park Diaz, gave testimony that proved to be fake. He claimed that Andrea may have been influenced by an episode of Law & Order where the mother drowned her children and was found insane. But there was a huge problem. The episode did not exist, and that testimony was inaccurate and incredibly damaging because it may have made the jury think Andrea was copying a fictional case to avoid responsibility. In 2005, Andrea's conviction was overturned and she was granted a new trial. And then once again, the country was watching. In 2006, Andrea Yates was tried again, and this time, the jury heard a more clear and complete picture of her psychiatric collapse. Experts testified about her postpartum psychosis, her delusions, her hallucinations, and her inability to separate reality from her own terrifying beliefs. And at this time, the outcome was different. The jury found Andrea Yates not guilty by reason of insanity, so instead of prison, she was committed to a state mental hospital, and this is where she remained ever since. Andrea Yates' case is still talked about today because it forces people to confront a really uncomfortable question. How much responsibility does someone have when their mind is completely detached from reality? How many warning signs have to be present before someone helps? And how many tragedies could have been prevented if severe postpartum mental illness was recognized and treated more aggressively? This case changed the way a lot of people talk about postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis because this was never a crime story, but it was a mental health crisis that ended in a complete loss. Andrea Yates' case is one of those stories that stays with people for years because no matter how many times you hear it, it's almost impossible to comprehend. 5 children were lost, and a mother who was clearly in crisis, and warning signs that, depending on who you ask, may have been missed or ignored. This case is still incredibly controversial, as some people believe that Andrea Yates knew exactly what she was doing and she should have stayed in prison, and others believe that this was one of the clearest examples of severe postpartum psychosis in true crime history. And honestly, this is one of the cases where people still argue both sides even now. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe that Andrea Yates was legally insane? Or do you think that she should have been fully held responsible? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if there's another case that you would like for me to cover, leave that as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you do not miss another future crime video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.